to programs and projects that the UK government has been supporting in Kenya with regards to ending violence against women and girls, because you've been a survivor yourself, and there have been lots of initiatives that have tried to get their feet, but it's still a recurring problem. And in some ways it's getting worse. We don't know if it's just because it's being reported more or if it's really getting worse. But violence against women and girls has to end. And we have the 16 days of activism, which I'm sure, the High Commission has activities around. But what can you tell me with regards to that?
So I think, and you can see the trends when there's more economic pressure. When cost of living is going up and there's more economic pressure, we've all got shorter fuses in our tempers, and a lot of that is taken out on the women in the household, which is why, as I mentioned, 1 in 3 women globally will experience sexual or physical violence from somebody, usually a male partner, or somebody that she knows in her lifetime. So what we've been trying to do through our support for women and girls, through Women into Schools, through supporting the previous current president's initiatives on ending gender-based violence, but also against ending FGM, is really, really important. We've reached nearly 1 million children under 5 to support them with nutrition, and of course the drought and the ongoing impact of that is incredibly severe, through family planning, nutrition-related interventions, and basic humanitarian assistance as well through cash transfers. But it's always the individual personal stories that stay with you. I can give you pages and pages of statistics, but the ones that stick with me is when I was up in the northeast and I met some FGM survivors. Some of them had been married off, all of them had 10, 12. Some of them had all of them had FGM, and they'd been rescued by one of the programs that we supported, and they were now sort of ranged from 16 to 25, and they were amazing women who are able to fulfill their potential. And I think that's one of the key things. The more women are exposed, to children, girls, I know it happens to some boys as well, that we shouldn't rule that out, but the majority happens to girls. The longer girls stay in school, the better her chances are of employment, the better her chances are of some sort of economic foundation for her life, for her children. And there's lots of talk of family values in Kenya, and they are important, but there's a lot of households that are headed up by single mums. And so having that education so she can support herself and her family and her kids is incredibly powerful.
I love that you've brought that up, because I wanted to ask about your career journey vis-a-vis any sacrifices you've had to make on the domestic front with regards to being a woman in leadership, because at the end of the day, it's women who have to make more of a sacrifice with regards to family life. Now, it has come up in the past. People have asked me, and I said, I don't know. But with regards to your personal choices, with regards to how far you've grown in your career, have there been at times when you've had to make a sacrifice and choose between a personal relationship vis-a-vis a professional advancement?
There have, but I have zero regrets. And I think the ones that stick in mind, so I would love to meet a lovely man. I think it's probably getting a little bit too old to have kids, and I'm not sure I want them anyway, to be honest.
Oh wait, and you want to meet? I know a guy. One second. I'm gonna text him right now. I'm just kidding. I'm not.
text your 40-something male friends. See what they're up to. Single
men friends.
Single men friends.
Smart. Okay, we'll get into that. But continue.
But I think there is something around women in powerful positions that are found intimidating. I did a bit of internet dating when I was in London, and I basically discovered that all of my anecdotes were better than the guy I was meeting, because I've had this amazing privileged life so far, doing all of this fun stuff. So when you're sort of exchanging stories or asking people about things, you're like, oh yeah, no, well I was in Iran and then this happened, and they're like, well, I mean, I went to Notting Hill for the carnival. Notting Hill Carnival is great, but it's not getting taken hostage in Iran, is it?
Exactly.
So I discovered that out. So then I'd sort of toned down my anecdotes to make myself seem a bit more dull,
relatable.
And I was like, oh no, this is not the way forward. But I was. It's probably my main relationship was sort of 5-6 years with a lovely man. I'm friends with all my ex-boyfriends. I think life's too short not to be. They're important to me. But ultimately, he said, the thing is, Jane, I can't be Mr. Ambassador.
Oh.
And it was devastating, actually, because I wasn't expecting him to be Mr. Ambassador, but we would need to go overseas at a choice of our choosing. And he said, I thought you'd get all of that stuff out of your system after Yemen. I'm like, all of that stuff? You mean my actual job?
My life.
My job, my life. So, my dad's aspiration was that I went to run the Bodleian Library in Oxford, found a nice man and had 2 children. But he's still super proud of me.
Okay, so when you talk about the Bodleian, I think of A Discovery of Witches, one of my favourite shows and one of my favourite books. And then the show I was talking about, which your Prime Minister is going to make a cameo, is called Bridgerton.
Oh, Bridgerton. Yes. Yeah.
He's not really, but you never know. You never know.
I think he should.
Right.
He's multi-talented. I'm sure he could do that sort of thing.
And he got the looks. One thing I did want to...
Olivia Fancy's our Prime Minister, just putting that out there. He's married.